Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my OnePlus 13 review. Here in front of us today, of course, is the OnePlus 13 in the Midnight Ocean, as well as the OnePlus 12. Now, I have been using the OnePlus 12 for pretty much the last year, so I have a pretty good feel of the software and the performance of Oxygen OS going into the OnePlus 13 review. The OnePlus 13 brings some very nice quality of life improvements over the OnePlus 12, and it's definitely a strong contender in 2025. So let's start with the design. The OnePlus 13 has a better design this year with flatter sides. It does feel better in the hand and less slippery than the OnePlus 12 feels. I'm very glad they made this design change. Quite frankly though, I wish OnePlus had went with the totally flat slab design of the 13R and given that phone this design. I just would have preferred if this was a complete flat slab. The display has the slight curve on all sides, but overall it's a lot better than the OnePlus 12. I also like the change in design to the camera module. It appears smaller than last year, and I much prefer that OnePlus did away with the flow over edge design we see on the OnePlus 12. So if we take a look here, you see how the camera module kind of it flows out here on the side. Kind of makes it feel like a much bigger camera module than it really is. And here on the 13, they have done away with that. I think it looks much cleaner. The Hasselblad branding has been moved off onto the actual back of the phone. Just looks so much better this way instead of this right here. Of course, we still have the alert slider, which is an iconic OnePlus feature. Just having this dedicated switch to change your ringer mode is really quick and easy. Definitely love this feature. Not really sure if I could go without it, because have you ever been having a conversation with somebody and you hear your phone go off and it dings really loud, or your phone's ringing? You could just reach in your pocket and just quickly silence it with this switch. Not even have to pull your phone out. So what more can I say about the alert slider? I absolutely love it. As far as the vegan leather here on the back of the OnePlus 13, this is the color I chose, the Midnight Ocean. I will say if I had to use this phone without a case, I'm not the biggest fan. Glass is just easier to clean, and there's not as much worry about the wear and tear that skin oils have on glass versus vegan leather. Lucky for me though, this can be solved with installing a case, so it's not that big of a worry. I just wish OnePlus had done this in a glass back. I really like this blue color. In terms of the display, there's not really anything noteworthy about the display on the OnePlus 13, as it's pretty much identical to the OnePlus 12. OnePlus says that it does have an A++ rating from DisplayMate, so take that as you will. The display on both of these is very excellent though. I do notice an ever so slight difference in colors between the two phones, but again, they're both top-notch displays to look at. And in my brightness testing, both phones get nearly identical in terms of max brightness. Now for screen protection, the OnePlus 13 comes with a pre-installed protective film. I prefer to remove it because to me, it really attracts fingerprints more so than the actual display itself. So it's up to you if you choose to do the same. Also this year, OnePlus has gone with ceramic guard instead of Gorilla Glass, which is a proprietary design change. I can't speak as to the shatter resistance versus Gorilla Glass, but as far as scratch resistance, it's the same as last year's Gorilla Glass Victus 2. You guys know how it goes. Scratches at a level 6, deeper grooves at a level 7. I'm not really concerned with this change, as many companies, including Apple and Xiaomi, have their own versions of display protection as well. It's just a change I felt was worth mentioning as it pertains to the overall build quality. Now this year, OnePlus has managed to squeeze in a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and that's due to it being a silicon carbon battery. That's also up from 5,400 milliamps on the OnePlus 12. Now in short, silicon carbon isn't something totally groundbreaking. It allows for more energy density versus the same size lithium-ion battery. As far as longevity and safety between the two battery types, they are very comparable. Here in the US, the OnePlus 13 now supports 100-watt wired charging as long as you have the 100-watt Super VOOC. That's the dual-port power adapter. I haven't fully verified that the OnePlus 12 doesn't support 100-watt charging with that power adapter, as I do not have one. But to be fair, the charging speeds between the included 80-watt brick and the 100-watt dual-port charger are probably negligible. So let's discuss battery life this year with the OnePlus 13 and the new Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is more efficient than last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which was already a very efficient chip. Now for me and my usage, For every hour of screen on time with the OnePlus 12, I was consuming about 10% battery. Now, about 90% of the time I am at home on Wi-Fi, so of course your battery usage will vary from mine. Still very good though on the OnePlus 12. Now, on the OnePlus 13, with that same 10% battery usage, I'm seeing about an hour and 10 minutes, maybe an hour and 15 minutes of screen on time. So I would say overall with the OnePlus 13, you could get anywhere from an additional hour of screen on time to 2 hours of screen on time. So a good step forward in battery life with that Snapdragon 8 Elite, but the battery life on the OnePlus 12 was already fantastic. And with both of these phones having fast charging, you can plug it in and get a meaningful charge versus other phones like Apple, the Pixel, and Samsung. Also, I wanted to talk about the haptics in the OnePlus 13 versus the OnePlus 12. Some people like to have good haptics in a device, and I do as well. But here on the OnePlus 13, the haptics when typing feel about the same to me as they do on the OnePlus 12. So I'm just opening up global search here and just typing hello. And then if we go to the recent tasks and we swipe through this here at the bottom, then we do the same here on the OnePlus 13. We swipe up, go to the recent tasks. Feels nearly identical to me, but that's not a bad thing because they were already very good on the OnePlus 12. Just wanted to include that for those of you who wanted to know if there's any major changes to the haptic engine. Now, typically I don't talk about water resistance, but this year OnePlus has stepped up the game with IP68/69 versus IP65 on the OnePlus 12. Now, essentially what this means is the OnePlus 13 can withstand higher pressure water, like high pressure water jets, as well as high temperature steam. How much does that matter? You know, for me, sometimes I'm on the phone while I'm in the shower, so the additional rating against steam makes me feel more comfortable doing so. But to be fair, it was never an issue with my OnePlus 12. I guess better is better, and I'm glad OnePlus brought this higher rating to its flagship. Okay, so let's talk about the weight of these devices. Now, typically in my review, I don't mention weight of devices as I find it not a heavily determined factor for most people. But for this review, I did want to include it for those who have more emphasis on the weight of a device. So the OnePlus 13 is lighter than the OnePlus 12 at 210 grams versus 220. Now, for reference, the S24 Ultra weighs 232 grams. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is 227. The S25 Ultra is 218. And the Pixel 9 Pro XL is 221 grams. Now, I found this kind of interesting as I was scrolling through the official specs on the OnePlus 13 product page. The Midnight Ocean color is ever so slightly thicker at 8.9 millimeters versus 8.5 millimeters on the Arctic Dawn and Black Eclipse colors, but it is slightly lighter at 210 grams versus 213 on the other two colors. Now, this is nothing you'll notice, but I just found it interesting. Now, you guys probably saw this coming. New chip this year, and the OnePlus 13 comes with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Now, I'm not going to bore you with stuff like it's this percent better or it's this percent more efficient, because of course it's faster, it's more efficient than last year's chip. But the truth is, this power and efficiency will only really shine if you're a heavy gamer or you do lots of productivity on your device. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in the OnePlus 12 is still a powerhouse. And the percentages you see on the OnePlus 13 product page, as well as from Qualcomm themselves, are best case scenarios, and those numbers should always be taken with a grain of salt. And they exist for marketing purposes, and in the real world, the gains are usually a bit far off from these advertised numbers. Now, all of the cameras on the back of the OnePlus 13 are 50 megapixel, whereas on the OnePlus 12 it was 50, 64, and 48 for the primary, telephoto, and the wide-angle lens, respectively. Now, here on my channel, I don't go deep into photography since I don't really take many pictures in my daily life. Some things to note, though, are the telephoto on the 13 has a slightly further focal length at 73 millimeters, and the ultra-wide has a 120-degree field of view. It also lets in a bit more light at f2.0 versus 114 degrees on the OnePlus 12. That's at f2.2. The selfie camera on paper looks nearly identical, except now in the OnePlus 13 you can capture video at 60 FPS, whereas for some reason on the OnePlus 12 it's still capped at 30. Not sure exactly why. So it's a little bit confusing, but nevertheless, finally we have 60 FPS selfie videos, which a flagship device should have. The OnePlus 13 has moved to an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner from the optical one found in the OnePlus 12. Now you might think this is a big change, but realistically, in my usage, it's not a night and day difference. I would say the ultrasonic sensor on the OnePlus 13 is a 10 out of 10, and the optical on the 12 is still a solid 8. Other than that, not much more to be said about this change. I'm just glad OnePlus did it. For some reason though, as you can see, I struggle a little bit with the OnePlus 12. I'm not sure why. It seems like it takes a little bit longer for that animation to pop back up when your phone is locked to place your thumb to unlock it. But again, in everyday usage, I haven't noticed the OnePlus 13 being much faster. So let's talk about the software and performance overall. In terms of performance, I wanted to quickly note that the OnePlus 13 and the OnePlus 12 both have the same storage options and RAM amounts. The storage type is exactly the same also, it's UFS 4.0. The OnePlus 13 ships with Android 15 and Oxygen OS 15 out of the box, but this update is coming to other OnePlus devices and is currently running on my OnePlus 12 as well. The core settings and customizations are nearly identical. The two things I did notice, the OnePlus 13 apparently lacks Dolby Atmos support for the loudspeakers, as shown here in the settings. I'm not quite sure of the decision behind this change, but in my opinion, I prefer the sound of the OnePlus 12 speakers, and I did a recording here. I'll let you guys listen. Okay, so I'm not sure how well this is going to come through on the video because I am filming this with my iPhone 15 Pro Max, but we have the same song pulled up here. On the left is the OnePlus 13, and on the right is the OnePlus 12. Go ahead and show you guys full volume there and full volume there. So let's start with the OnePlus 13. Okay, so we're about 23 seconds in on that. Here we go on the OnePlus 12. Okay, let's keep going. OnePlus 13. Okay, here we go, OnePlus 12. Whoops. Okay, so again, this isn't a super scientific test for sound quality. Again, I'm recording on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It seems as though the top firing speaker on the OnePlus 13 is pointing more upward, which is most likely due to all of the edges of the display having a slight curve. But to my ears, the OnePlus 13 sounds distant and hollow with a lack of clarity. Admittedly though, sound is subjective, and I will adapt to the sound of the OnePlus 13. But side by side, I do prefer the sound of the OnePlus 12. Sounds much more crisp and upfront with similar bass and mid-range to the OnePlus 13. Moving on though, an option not available on the OnePlus 13 that I have enabled on my OnePlus 12 is the ability to toggle on display RAM information in the recent tasks. This definitely isn't a deal breaker, but it's a quick way to know how much RAM you're currently using, and I find it strange when companies take features away looking at you, Samsung. In order to keep this review shorter, though, I will be making a dedicated video comparing the software between the OnePlus 12 and 13. So get subscribed so you don't miss that. Is the OnePlus 13 a good phone? Absolutely. It's a very good flagship. It holds up well to the competition. Is it a good phone for you? Well, that depends on what factors are most important to you in a smartphone. The OnePlus 13 definitely ticks a lot of boxes: great performance, great battery life, fast charging, good cameras, the alert slider, the smart sidebar, the floating windows. In the last year that I've been using the OnePlus 12, OnePlus has been good with updates. What will OnePlus do next year with the 14? I'm not entirely sure, but I am definitely excited. For a few years now, most companies have been in a refinement phase, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means a phone from a few years ago is still holding strong, and in some cases looks nearly identical to the newest model. Lastly, in my opinion, if you want to save a few $100s and still get a device that ticks a lot of boxes, check out the OnePlus 13R. You may actually prefer its more boxy, truly flat-sided design over the 13, and its specs are still more than enough to last another few years. So that's going to do it for my OnePlus 13 review. You guys can let me know if I missed anything or if you need more clarification on something specific. I will definitely get back to you. Hit thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next review.